Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of Season Ticket Holders. I'm your host, Dane Billingston, and I have a favourite returning guest. He's quickly becoming the Brisbane correspondent for Season Ticket Holders. He's a Fox Sports News producer, reporter, presenter, and Honeybees ambassador, Josh Bristow. Welcome to the show, mate.
Yeah, thank you, mate. I've got a stake in there. I don't have a stake in this podcast yet, though. The checks must have been bouncing, but I've probably racked up the most caps, haven't I?
You're getting up there. I haven't counted off the top of my head, but you are, well, you just about are. We'll get on to Gage Roads in Perth. They never sent us that sponsorship deal from those beers, so.
Yeah. I hope there's a Queensland-esque Dick Tosser Turner medal when I hit 20, you know?
There will. We will think into that. We definitely will. I'll have you something nice, mate, even if it's just a six-pack of 4X. I know you love that. Uh, Bristow, it's Origin Week. You've been entrenched in Queensland camp. I've been entrenched in New South Wales camp in the Blue Mountains. Obviously, Wednesday night, it all comes down to the decider. I want to start with you. You've been up there. It's been a big few days for the Queenslanders. Obviously, the very sad news that Cameron Munster's father had passed away. Now, you were out there when it all broke yesterday. Do you want to just give us a bit of a breakdown behind the scenes of how it all went down?
Yeah, it was shocking news, isn't it, really? Like, thoughts go out to Cam Munster and a lot of the Queensland boys, you know, because his father, Stephen, was heavily involved in the Queensland camp, and the Melbourne Storm boys all knew him quite well. He was always a presence in the dressing rooms after the fact. So, you know, my thoughts go out to the entire team. You know, huge emotions already when you're preparing to play maybe the biggest game of your life. So, yeah, pretty shocking news. We went out yesterday morning just to do a regular sort of chat. I think we were going to speak to Harry Grant after training, and the media guy just came over and was like, quietly was like, we're doing the press conference now before training, and basically didn't say much else, but it was clear that something was up. And then we all set up, and yeah, they all sort of walked out together with Billy. Billy broke the news, and then you know, surrounded by his players, and then they all went out to train. And yeah, shocking news. I mean, credit to Cam if he does end up playing. Billy gave him the option not to play, and as we I was going to say, as we go to air now, as we record this podcast, he is still playing, although I believe he is still in Rockhampton, and they're expecting him to join him on Tuesday because they've already flown out today as we record Monday afternoon. So yeah, I mean, maybe the most dramatic lead up I've been involved in, certainly when it comes to sort of stuff outside of what happens on the football field, Dane.
Yeah, it's just very sad news. I was pretty shocked. I think one of the tweets come through on Sunday, and yeah, just terrible news for Cameron Munster. Great guy, obviously on such a high from first captaincy, leading to that win in game two to this. So hearts and thoughts definitely go out to him and his family for what they've had to go through. And on the football side of things, obviously, it sounds like by all reports, unless something does change in the next sort of 24 hours, he will be there. Like you said, join the camp on Tuesday. Is that the feeling? Because I mean, it would be a massive blow, obviously, if anything were to come in. I don't even really know who would
Yeah,
come in to fix if they did have to replace a half like that at such short notice. Who would even come in?
yeah. I think basically, sort of speaking to the guys today on camera and off camera, I think they're fairly certain he will be all right to play. But I don't think anyone would begrudge him. You know, if it over the next 24 hours he does sort of go, oh, geez, I don't know if I can do this. But yeah, there are contingencies, obviously. I do know that Reece Walsh filled in at 5'8" for their last training session on Sunday. I don't know how realistic that is. I think maybe he was just the guy in the extended squad that could run against them at 5'8". I think probably if he was to decide that he wasn't up to playing, you'd probably just call DCE, wouldn't you? He slots straight back into 7. Tom goes to 6. You know, you've had Ezra Mam in the team, but I think that comes with already a large amount of baggage that I don't think you'd want to throw on top of a decider as well, alongside this news. Although, I mean, it is Billy Slater, right, though, so he does love an unheralded guy from North Queensland. Is that Jake Clifford's music?
I know you're a big fan. You've spoke about in this podcast what a fairy tale that'd be for you personally, more than anything. But yeah, you're right. I mean, Ezra Mam has been there before, but yeah, DC would make the most sense, wouldn't it? Just to come in 11th hour, bring back the ex Queensland captain. and do a job and a decider who's done it all before. I think you'd be right on that. So yeah, very, very terrible news for them. But just outside of that too, what's been the feeling in Queensland camp? Obviously, they did get the job done in game two. We were out there in Perth, but they did get smashed in that second half. What's been that feeling just in these final few days? What's the feeling you get at Maroons camp?
Quietly confident, I'd have to say, Dane. I mean, the feeling before game two, I mean, you felt it as well, was pretty doom and gloom, even amongst the most diehard Queenslanders. I think only the 17 guys and Billy thought that they could do it, and they did do it. Although, I think if the Blues had 2 more minutes in Perth, they probably would have pipped him at the post. I like the fact that Billy's brought in Papali'i. I think even though Fodawaker was better in game two, I don't think he's sort of provided what Papali'i can provide. I still think, though, it is funny that there is a Queensland forward on the Canberra Raiders who's playing much better and is much younger that I think probably could have gotten a phone call. I do like to imagine the scenario where Billy called Corey last week and said, "Hey, mate, can you put Josh on?" Um, but I do like Papali'i in the team. You can really tell, even just from watching them react with him, how much I don't want to be too Gen Z here, but how much aura he has. He does farm quite a lot of aura. Tino is like a little child around Papali'i, man. Honestly, I mean,
Is
as
he?
you can say, Tino is a little child. He's a gigantic child. He said he was his favorite player growing up to me during the week, and that certainly plays out how they've been reacting. I like him coming in. I like Hammer going to the back. Like Reese has been good, but he doesn't have the miles in his legs, I think, over the past couple of weeks. And Hammer is like his position is fullback, so I don't hate that. How do you feel about Shibasaki as the big Broncos fan? You've probably watched him more than most people.
Yeah, look, he's an absolute revelation, as we all know by now. I think he was before the round second in tries behind Hammer, and defensively he's looked really good. I mean, looking into him, he's on a train and trial offer, right? $1,200 a week deal. I was reading he didn't even want to take it, and he had a chat with Pat Carrigan when he was up north and decided to take it. He's the only player in the 45-year history of Origin to still hold a development contract and play for State of Origin. So, I mean, it's a crazy story. But look, as far as him being up to it, mate, like Billy obviously has big faith to throw a guy like that into a decider, 80,000 people for your debut when you wasn't even sure you'd play NRL this year. I mean, that's got to be one of the all-time plucks out of nowhere sort of story. And if he does a job and they win, I mean, geez, but him and Robert Toya in the centers, I mean, that's 1,000,000 to 1 odds at the start of the year, right? Like no one in the world is thinking
They
that.
wouldn't have taken the bet, mate.
They wouldn't have. I mean, it's probably more than a million, man.
Yeah.
But look, I think he's solid, and whether he's up to the job, I mean, we're going to find out. Against Stephen Crichton and Latrell Mitchell, I mean, they're the two very elite centers in the game, or fullback for Latrell normally, but elite at rep level when he's done the job. You mentioned Hammer too. I did have a stat. I think Crash Craddock wrote an article. I did find it interesting just of that whole Reece Walsh debate because I personally would have picked Reece Walsh and I thought he was going to get the job done. But in 14 matches for the Dolphins, he had just 7 errors and Reece had 21 with 4 fewer games. And obviously in Origin, we know defusing the bomb and that type of thing, how crucial that could be. So when I saw that, I was like, that is a fairly good point as far as that goes because Reece we know what happened last year when he got smashed in the face, and we said, wasn't ever really the same player since. He's been awesome in attack this year and was really instrumental with the Broncos' recent run, 4 in a row. But Hammer is safe and scoring 4 tries, and I think we've always just not really looked into him, right? He's sort of just been overlooked because he has had Ponga and Reece seemingly in front of him, but he's always been there, right, in plain sight that he could do this.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think he filled in for Reese in that game one last year, didn't he? And he looked amazing. And
Did he
I
score a
remember
hat
sort of
trick? I think he scored a hat
yeah,
trick in that game.
yeah. And I remember thinking at the time, geez, like this bloke is Queensland's third string fullback,
Yeah.
which was incredible behind Reese and Ponga. But look, he's playing well for the Dolphins. I like to think that I put him on this path when he stepped me as a 15-year-old playing Cairns A grade rugby union.
Is that right?
Yeah, he did step a 25-year-old Josh Bristow in his prime. So
You're
it
still in your
doesn't
prime,
surprise me
Brister.
he's doing what he's doing at this level now.
What well, that's a nice insight. What was it like going up against the Hammer in real life, mate? And that was a young version too.
Yeah, he was very, very skinny then. I mean, he was 15, so he's a literal child. But I think, you would have played park footy. The sort of word goes around beforehand that, oh, this kid in the Cowboy system is going to throw on a jersey, and all right. And then, yeah, he was doing the classic. He could have scored a lot more tries, but I think he was trying to do the bit where you don't want to get on the score sheet because someone will notice. So he would like step the team and then pass off to someone, after he's outrun the whole team.
Jeez, he's
But
that good, hey?
he was so fast, so quick.
I actually, yeah, I remember floating around some of the stories when I was still in Cairns doing regional when I was at Win and Seven, and we were trying to dig up like local A grade vision of him, and even then, like he was just doing exactly obviously what he does now. Incredible to see how he's come.
Remember doing a story up there because the Gold Coast Suns tried to sign him.
I yeah,
And based off essentially just a handful of games he'd played filling in for a mate's team, he made the maybe the Queensland Country AFL side. And I managed to get my hands on that game tape, and he's a freak. Like, I reckon not that I'm a massive AFL aficionado, it looked like he could have made it. And well, the Suns definitely thought he could have.
yeah. Then they did love the far north Queensland, especially up in Cairns. That Suns development team, they've produced some pretty good players. I reckon
Yeah.
he would have done it for sure, man. Like that speed, that leap, like we've seen what he can do in the air. I was still a bit bummed that he's not going to be sort of out in the wings for Queensland, but look, yeah, I think he, in the end, hindsight, like it probably was the right pick. Reece Walsh is obviously 18th man. I don't think there's going to be any late game day changes, right? I know there's a little bit of a rumor that things could happen, but I don't think Billy's going to make something that drastic so close to kickoff.
No, yeah, I think the headline switches we already know. Shibasaki, Papali'i. Can I just say about Shibasaki? He is a big man. He's a solid boy,
Yeah.
and a lot of noise has been made about how he's been brought in for his defense. Um, and it was sort of explained to me in simple terms that in the modern game, it's sort of the wingers and the fullback that are way more important than your centers. Your centers are basically just there to make the defensive reads and make your tackles. So it was sort of explained to me like if you get through 12 tackles and you haven't been beaten, like that's a good game for a center. So that, maybe that's Billy's thinking. You don't need your superstars in the centers. Maybe that's Latrell and Critter a little bit wasted in there. But,
Fair point. No, fair point. And look, like I said, watching him for the Broncos week in, week out, and I do watch them pretty closely. He's been one of their best. Like I'd say top three, top four players all season for Brisbane. Like he's been consistent. He's been up there every single game. And that's impressive because Tony Staggs has also been one of their best, their other centre. So it goes a long way. Look, on
Herbie who?
Katoni.
Herbie who, I said,
Oh,
is what
Herbie
you're
Hoos.
saying.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, no, you are right, man. I mean, geez. They've been blessed with centers lately, haven't they? I mean, Herbie Farmer, and geez, he's having quite a season too. Incredible, man. Um, Look, over to New South Wales. We'll get back to Queensland towards the end, but I was out there all week last week at the Blue Mountains. I guess unlike Queensland, they're the ones who've sort of had all the injury concerns, right? Like
Hmm.
Brian Toto and Payne Haas have done very, very limited training, if anything. I don't know how much you guys knew in Brisbane media, but Payne Haas, obviously, we ran with it big in Sydney. He's been having these pain injections all year for his back, right? Apparently, he's having cortisone in his spine, which is pretty crazy. And that's something that's been managed all season. And if you watch him play, like, you don't really, how can you tell, man? Like, he's just a monster.
Um, I've stood next to Payne Haas a few times, and I always think every time we're not even the same species,
I
And
mean,
he's
you and
sent
I,
here to play rugby league.
you and I probably do feel that a bit though, Bristow, don't we?
Well,
To
not
be
when we go to when we interview jockeys at the track, that's sort of where we get in.
bring on the Cairns Cup. That was a good time. I was always one of the biggest guys in there.
I was an amateurs guy.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, that was the social event on the calendar, wasn't it? Shout out the far north Queensland listeners, only people getting the references right now. Um, Mate, yeah, so that was Payne Haas. I mean, in saying that, it was the exact same thing with game one leading into it when he had that upper leg quad strain leading up to it. He didn't train until like the Monday and he was man of the match. So New South Wales players have all been saying that every time we ask them, is he okay? They bring that up. And it's a fair point. Like he doesn't need to
Yeah,
train for a week. He could literally be put on game day and I don't think he's going to change. I don't even think he's going to have a bad game. Like it's Payne Haas. I
This-
don't think
that was sort of my approach in my last couple of years of playing fifth grade on Friday nights. I don't need to train. I'll rock up and I'll give you the same performance every week.
You just need a beer.
Yeah.
And mate, Brian Tot was the other one. He injured his knee. Now, I think it was like a partial tear in his knee. LCL, I think I read. I'm not sure. I'm not sure about my knees, mate. You might know better than me. Um,
Sounds like a
but
muesli bar you'd eat at lunchtime at primary school, you know?
what were those? Were those LCL?
LCM, I think.
LCMs? Yeah, yeah. Shout out. Maybe we do need a sponsor if they're still in production. Mate, and so he's obviously, look, I was out there watching the school in the Blue Mountains, him and Payne Haas up until, Friday, Saturday, Thursday rather, they had a day off Friday. They were still training away from the group, doing their warm-ups. Um, didn't look too good. They weren't really doing any running, but like I'm not worried. Same with Brian Toto. I mean, he's sort of had niggling injury concerns all year, and he was New South
Mm.
Wales best in game two. Like I don't think either of those guys. They've pretty much been two of New South Wales best players all series.
He played Toto played one of the grand finals with like a busted foot, didn't he? Like or a knee. Like yeah, he's another alien from another planet.
Yeah, not a big guy, but man, he's built just like out of concrete. Like the way he puts his head down and burrow through, like he's got to be one of the best little guys as far as post contact meters that I've ever seen in footy.
He's on track to be maybe the best winger ever, in my opinion.
Big call, big
And
call.
that hurts me as a big Wendell Sailor guy.
No, but you're right, man. He's on that trajectory, right? I mean, the way he plays, really nice guy, like great personality off the field, like easy to love on the field, like the way he is, like modern day wingers, you'd think do have to have a little bit of size to them as far as height at least, but he doesn't. He's found a way to do it without that.
Teams, every couple of months, a team will go like, "Oh, he's short. We should try and bomb him," and it never works. It never seems to work. Like his timing, the way it's just incredible what he does.
And you and I do appreciate a short king, mate. So I'm not
Yeah,
surprised at
he's
all.
like Matt Utai if Matt Utai was really good.
Um, but and he has been great, man. So yeah, love watching him. I really doubt there's going to be any changes. Obviously, New South Wales have named the same 17. They got the job. They almost got the job done in the greatest comeback ever, but didn't. Fell short in game two.
I
The
do
other,
want I do want to ask you. I think the
hmm,
big question for the Blues this game is what does it mean for Nathan Cleary's legacy?
they go on about that a little bit, don't they? Because
Because
he
that
obviously.
seems to be the only thing I ever hear about down south media. And I think if they do lose it, it's probably going to be a stick that idiots at the pub beat him with.
No, you're right. And that's the story they keep going on about. Nathan Cleary, for whatever reason, they think he hasn't performed at rep level. He obviously missed all of last series. But
Yeah.
and then Queensland obviously had some success before that. So yeah, I mean, I guess he hasn't had his time to shine. Is he going to go down as one of the greatest players ever if he doesn't conquer this Origin arena? He's so young in his career. He's got plenty of
Funny though,
time.
I was going through it. Like I feel like he has had a pretty good Origin career. Like he won back-to-back Origins when he came in. Then he masterminded that 2021 series where they like flogged us in the first two games, all in Queensland. Like,
Yeah.
yes, the results haven't gone his way probably since then. Well, I guess he hasn't won a series since that series, right? Because we won the next two, and then he didn't play last year. So yeah, I think it's a fair question. Like, if he puts on a performance, this might be the Joey '05 game. But he has played well in Origin. Like, it does sort of annoy me when people say he's never done anything in this arena.
Bit of recency bias, maybe. Like just,
Yeah.
like it has been what, 3 years?
I think maybe it's hurt him that in the 21 series and the two he won before that, like it wasn't even close. They just sort of ran up scores. You sort of think about class Origin performances when it's a tight game, and they win it. They score a lucky try at the end of '06 or stuff like that. But yeah, that sort of hurt him maybe.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And I mean, they've been sort of haven't been, had real consistency in the halves, I guess. They've got so many options that they do have the luxury of moving them around. I like him and Mitch Moses, but obviously they got the job done in game one. And then Moses out injured. Him and Luai, of course, premiership winning together. But yeah, I mean, if he gets the job done, that's a big tick for his resume. He does still have that groin injury. That was what I was going to talk to about
Yeah,
him because.
okay.
Um,
You're gonna kick.
yeah, that's the big question. It's out of him and Zach Lomax. Now, mate, they have, I don't know how, but they're two of the better kickers in the NRL, I would say, at Clubland.
Mm.
Cleary kicked 0 from 4 from tries in game one. He kicked one penalty goal. And then Lomax obviously converted 1 from 4 in that last game, despite New South Wales scoring 5 tries to 4. And obviously Valentine Holmes, he kicked 4 from 4. So that was the difference in the end. Lomax has been training. I mean, I was out there at the captain's run in Perth when he was said he was visualizing, and that turned out to be red herring. He was right in front of us, but he was injured. That was pretty obvious in hindsight. But he's still carrying something. He's played all right for Penrith, but I don't think he's going to goal kick. I reckon it's Zach Lomax for sure. I think Lomax has got no injury concerns. I think you need Cleary to be fit for the kicking in game, right? That's the main thing. You don't worry, you don't risk him doing it from some sideline conversion and tweaking something, especially with the groin. When you
Yeah,
do need to take a big line. I've done a groin in social soccer, mate. It
yeah,
hurts.
you know the pain.
You lose all power. You lose all power in that leg. Like, when you try and kick, I did it in soccer a few times. I think I was practicing with a pair of socks one time before training,
Oh
and
no,
I hit the carpet and just dug into it, strained my groin. And I'm sure that has nothing on Nathan Cleary's injury, but
that's gonna be the least athletic injury I've ever heard.
I was practicing for social mixed soccer, but
Yeah,
that's how I did my groin. And then it ends up lingering for like a year, and it's terrible. And you really do lose all power in the leg when you do it. But I think Lomax will kick. Um, but yeah, you're right about the Cleary legacy thing, mate. I mean, look, he's already going to be great, but if he can come and be the difference in game three, I mean, yeah, that'll be interesting for him. I mean, in Sydney, God, it's going to be
yeah.
very interesting.
But I mean,
Um,
if they lose, it's catastrophic, right, for him. I think,
Well,
given that.
again, I mean, you should think about how the media here and a lot of fans are. Like, again, the lead up to this game, I'm obviously a sole Queenslander here in Sydney for media and just in my friend group, just about. And they're just super confident. There's no doubts that they're going to win. It was the exact same mentality heading into game two. Queensland are
Yeah,
like $2.80 outsiders, 80,000 people sold out of Accor Stadium. They have no doubts in their mind. In saying
I
that,
did. Is it sorry?
no, they said that in game two. You know what I mean? Like it's the same story.
I wanted to run this sort of my thinking past you. I was extreme. I don't think I've ever been as low on Queensland's chances as I was before game two. Like I just saw no path out of it. For how bad they were in game one, for how bad they were in game three last year. Um, and as New South Wales always do, they win one game, they literally start talking about dynasties and will Queensland ever score a point? And then we win that game in Perth. And not that Queenslanders are okay with losing, but after copying all of that stuff, of them getting in front of their skis, I feel like this game three is a free hit because, oh, well, you were meant to whitewash us. You were meant to start another dynasty, but we got one game, so you didn't. So, I'm not happy with losing, or I won't be happy with losing a series, but I just feel like you get that one game and, the next, whatever happens is the cherry on top. And I felt like that in 2020 when we got game one. I was like, you know what? We got that one game. That's all I'm happy with. And then, of course, you set yourself up for more excitement if they do pull it off.
Yeah, the worst Queensland team ever. Thanks, Bulldog Richie. Mate, no, you're right about all that though too, because I remember Jake Jute, Fox Sports' very own, said to me in the office, Dane, you don't really think you're going to win a game this series, do you? And that was the
Yeah.
mentality. Yeah, he said that to me, and obviously we go out there, and after game one, obviously they're super confident. Then game two, look at how it all turned around. Um, but look, it's going to be very interesting, man, because uh, obviously what's happened with Cameron Munster too, and the Billy Slater and the Grub comment leading into game two as well. Is there some sort of another galvanized situation? They want to do it for Cam, they want to do it for his family. Like there's another storyline for Queensland, for them to do the job. For New South Wales, like I said, same 17 in front of a sold out crowd. Hudson Young was the other one that I wanted to talk about. He had a groin complaint, but I think he finally did train over the last few days, but he didn't train in that first week in that camp in Lura in the Blue Mountains. The other one was Stefano Utoikamanu. Apparently had a bit of a calf niggle. But I don't think there's any real concern that they won't be okay. Obviously, Jacob Kiraz is the 18th man. He would come in if Brian To'o is sort of like a last minute scratching. But I don't think, unless, again, if something crazy happens in the next 24 hours, obviously they've got through all the main training today. Tuesday is just a very, very light captain's run. And then it's all systems go on Wednesday. So I wouldn't expect any changes to either of their 17s. The stat I did want to point to you, Bristow, is no Queensland team in Origin's 45-year history has recovered from 1-0 down to win a series with back-to-back wins on the road. Can they do it?
Look, I think they can. I think they can. I think the storylines are aligning, really. Yeah. As I just said before, I was so down on them before game two. I left the Church of Billy, and I'm now asking for forgiveness and to submit myself before our Lord and Savior Billy Slater. I now believe that he can walk on water. He can turn Gatorade into Queensland blood, and I think we can do it.
I think he's going to have to punish you first. Hopefully, he's not a listener. Because like you said too, I did agree. Like heading into game two, it was probably the lowest confidence levels I think I'd ever had as a Queensland and Origin supporter, and we wouldn't normally admit that. It's part of the Queensland spirit they hate us talking about.
I
You
was
know,
worried.
yeah, yeah, and even being in the press box in Perth, like obviously it was probably more majority New South Wales media, obviously large chunk of Queensland as well. But I think there was just a general sense of confidence from everyone that the Blues would get the job done. And of course, the way they came back, like you said, for an extra 2 minutes, mate. If there was an extra 1 minute in that game, New South Wales were their own worst enemies. They went on about that 8-0, 9-0 penalty count in the first half. But we did
That
that in.
stuff, that stuff has to be some of the most pathetic stuff I've ever read or had to listen to. Hey, this like penalty count thing.
They love
But
it. They love it.
it happens every single time. Like, not every game has to have equal penalties. Teams get penalized when they give away penalties. Like, I just don't know how this. I had to watch some video that I think a paper down there had made where it was like 10 times Ashley Klein missed like Queensland penalties, and it was like, what are we doing here? It was like players like touching them to get off the ruck, and it was like, oh, just pathetic and
Yeah, and
indicative.
I know that straight after the game they weren't happy, but I mean, like I said, like it happens, and I think they've admitted. I don't think any of the players have come out and said we got felt dudded by the penalty count. They said it's discipline, and Queensland opened in a very similar way in the first 40 in game one.
Mm.
In Brisbane, they were their own worst enemies in that one too, just between drop balls, penalties, ill discipline. It was the exact same thing. It just sort of flipped the script, and then completely different story in the second half. They just came back so strong. And yeah, Queensland are going to have to get off to a good start with Josh Papali'i coming in. Yeah, they're going to have to get on top of the forward pack, but Queensland will come in quietly confident. Billy Slater doing it for Cam Munster. 80,000 mad screaming Sydney siders, mate. What more do you want in a decider? This is going to be it. Now, where will you be watching the game?
I haven't worked this out yet because I'm not. It's the first Origin in quite a while that I won't be working, so I don't really know what to do with myself. Um, yeah, I'm unsure. Potentially, I might go down to the pub. We'll see.
What's your local?
Um, I live like 500 meters away from the valley, so I have quite a few options available to me. I think Felons on the River maybe has a big cinema screen.
Do they?
So
That would be a
I might
great
go to that,
spot.
and also get a mortgage out for the two beers I'll buy that'll cost me about 5 grand.
I'm in Sydney. What are you talking about? I know all about it, mate.
I shouldn't complain to you. I should know who I'm talking to.
Yeah. Well, we're
That's
like you.
cheating.
That's true. I remember the first time I paid $16 for a pint of craft beer. Um, and
Wow.
now that's just normal. But I also aren't working for the first time this series, mate. You and I kicked out for game three. But yeah, I'll be at the Marrickville, Marrickville
Outsiders, mate.
outsiders. They don't want Queenslanders in Sydney, mate. They're banned for our blood.
Yeah,
I'll be at the Marrickville Tavern, so I'm looking forward to that before going to the team hotel.
nice.
Inner West, stick in the Inner West. It'll be good. They don't get football like we do, but that's still fine, mate. As long as there's a bit atmosphere. Actually, I will call out the Marrickville Tavern. They put an Instagram video up and they said other uses for a Queensland jersey. One of them was wiping at the bar, one of them was cleaning the glass, one of them was standing as a doormat, and then one was just throwing in the bin. So I can't wait to go and see them in person on Wednesday night.
Yeah, can't wait to give them your hard earned.
Yeah, well, that's true, but my partner Danny did lodge a formal complaint on Instagram.
Beautiful. Do they get Origin in South America?
That's a good question. I will be in Colombia during the NRL final, so I will let you know just how the Aussie bar goes in Bogota.
There we
Um, mate, look, enjoy the game, mate. I think we're all expecting right this tight sort of classic grinding game. I know it's similar to Game 3. That's at least what we're expecting. I know New South Wales again. There's a lot of sort of predictions that they could blow them off the park. Things will finally click in Sydney, and Queensland won't know what to do. But I think this is the case where I always say all the games are in a vacuum. Those two games very different. I think game three is going to be something completely different entirely from what we've seen. I think tight grinding, the forward battle is obviously going to be crucial that first 20 minutes. Um, and it's all going to come down to, I think, a big moment, a big play, a field goal, something like that. I could be totally wrong. New South Wales could blow them off the park, but I just get that feeling that both teams are going to be up for it. It's Origin, and it's going to come down to who can stand up in that big moment. And wouldn't it be fitting if Cameron Munster did just have that winning moment at the end of this game three?
Yeah, here we go. I mean, it's the cliche, right? But I foresee either a Blues blowout or a close, tight Queensland win, which
What's
would be lovely.
Give us your scoreline.
Yeah, I'll go 13-12 Cam Munster field goal.
Oh, you took mine. No, no. I think I gave my prediction in my last potty, but I think I said something like 12-10 or 12-8 Queensland, something just
Think you like, mate.
well, yeah, that's very true. And thank you for representing the Queensland Reds. Didn't touch on it, but Bristow obviously loves his
We
jerseys.
are red, mate. Do not check the Lions score.
Great game. Actually, that's well, I quickly have I wouldn't normally ask you a rugby new question, but I did read this article. Obviously, it is clashing tomorrow night, isn't there? Wednesday night rather. There is rugby on as well.
Yeah, I believe it is clashing with the Brumbies game.
Yes.
So I'll have Stan Sport up on the second screen, um, with Channel 9. The Brumbies are actually they were the last team to beat. They were the last provincial team to beat the Lions. So it's a huge game, mate. I'll see you there. Actually, that's where I'll go. I'll fly down to Canberra in the middle of the week in July and watch the Lions put a score on the Brumbies.
That's for all my rugby union fans out there. Thank you, all of you, singly. No,
Ever
it's
since I headed east?
there's no chance that a Brisbane pub is showing that.
No. Yeah, absolutely. I might have to have my phone out.
Maybe eastern suburbs Sydney might be a bit different. Bristow, enjoy Origin, mate. It's been a pleasure talking to you all throughout the series. It was a pleasure traveling to you in Perth. We did stay at the murder hotel and we didn't get murdered. And your bathtub was boarded up, but we didn't check it for a body. But I'm sure it was all fine.
Yeah, I got much better sleep once I got back home. I'll tell you that.
I'm sure you did. Bristow, thanks again for joining us on Season Ticket Holders. And thanks everyone for listening and all your support. Enjoy Origin. Can't wait. Decider. Bring it on. Queenslander. Talk to you soon, guys. Thank you.
See you at the Voodoo Lounge, mate.
Perfect ending.